What up, guys? So, I want to talk about something that came to mind, right? I was in the spirit. And, like, what is it that, I'm going to get right into it. What is it that these people really want? What is it that the synagogue of Satan really wants, right? And that's something you got to understand. What's their plan, their goals, right? And so, their near-term goals. Well, they want the United States, I'm going to go through this real quick. They want the United States to go to war and get destroyed, right? And get dismantled, not destroyed, but dismantled in nuclear war. They want nuke strikes all over the United States. They want Iran out of the way and they want Russia out of the way, right? That's their plan. And so, and people are playing right into their hands, right? I mean, you just saw like a huge swath of the U.S. Congress go to the Middle East to meet with so-called Benjamin Netanyahu. That's not his real name. His real name is like Melikovsky or something like that. To go meet with Benjamin Melikovsky, a.k.a. Benjamin Netanyahu, right? And so that's what all this is in preparation for. They are behind, Benjamin Melikovsky, whatever the hell his name is, from Poland, whatever. He's not from Israel. He's not a Jew in that sense. He doesn't descend from any so-called ethnic groups of Jewish, Afro-Asiatic Semitic people. And I don't think he cares about Judaism either. He's more of probably a Satanist from what the Bible calls the synagogue of Satan. And so their near-term goals are, one, destroy the U.S., right? Bait the new U.S. through Donald Trump into a nuclear exchange with Russia, Iran, China, and North Korea, led by them, right? Then the BRICS. So to lead them into a nuclear war in which they depopulate and kill a lot of people and dismantle the U.S. as we now know it, which looks like it's going to definitely happen. There's nothing in the way of stopping it. And that should start right after this meeting with Donald Trump. Then they're going to go after Iran. They're going to wipe out they're going to clear out Gaza and the West Bank and wipe those people, those Arabs out. And then they're going to wipe out Iran and hopefully Russia. That's their plans. So you prepare to see that happen over the next couple of years, right? Like for them to roll that out. And so if you're in the United States, you should prepare for this, because then what are they going to do? They're going to dismantle they've already pretty much done it, dismantle the political structure in the United States and move the ruling political structure in the United States to Tel Aviv, to Israel. You see, the capital of the United States will be in Israel. All decisions about the governance, and it's already happening. All decisions of the governance of the United States will be made by the Israelis. All of the funds, they're giving them $15 billion a year right now. And pretty much all politicians in the United States have to pass laws and funding on behalf of Israel, which is a foreign government. That's already happening. So it's not like I'm making it up. You say, oh, this guy's crazy. I guess if I'm crazy, you must don't read the papers. You don't read articles. You don't watch the news. Because if you watch the news, you would know everything I'm telling you is the truth. I wouldn't have, it wouldn't be a debate or a negative comment. You would just be like, he may be out of line, but he's right. Right? He's right. So that's where it's going. That's what they're doing right now, right? They want to dismantle the U.S. in a war, through wars, and looks like that's happening very quickly, very soon. They want to get rid of all Arabs inside of Israel proper, meaning they want to wipe out the West Bank, wipe out Gaza Strip, kick out all the Arabs, go after Syria, dismantle Lebanon, dismantle Iran, any opposition in that area, and then solidify control over those trade routes, oil, etc., and resources in that area. And that's it. And then, and Russia. Make sure Russia is over, they are dismantled. That's a tall order, but they think they can do it. And so they're going to use war to do it. If they can't perform a color revolution inside of Russia, because the Russian people, they're not that kind of people. You know what I mean? They're just not. Just like some of them Arab countries, they're just not those kind of people. They're a little bit too conservative. They don't go in with all of the rainbow shit and the different weird stuff. They go, so they can't really get leverage, particularly, and they don't have a lot of that diversity shit going on, where they can get all these different characters in there and immigration. You know what I mean? So that's what they do through the immigration and the internal conflicts and the splintering and the division. That's how they, the globalists, these globalist Nazis, how they do everything. And so they just pull on those wedges. And Russia is not a country you can really do that with. China is the same way. They don't go in for a lot of immigration. They don't go in for a lot of the rainbow shit. So it's hard for them to start an internal revolution the way they want. So the only other option is what? War. Right? They're gonna go to war. That's the only other option now. It may be conventional, but the problem with conventional war is the U.S. can't win a conventional war, and NATO can't win a conventional war, and neither can Russia. So that's the problem, right? China could probably win a conventional war because they have a large enough population, army, etc. So because they can't win a conventional war, it's probably going to go nuclear very soon at some point. As now it's conventional. But at a certain point, they're going to switch those warheads on those Orishniks and those Dark Eagles, hypersonics, et cetera, are going to get switched from conventional to nuke. And you're going to have not the large nukes, but the strategic nukes going off. The smaller nukes, they're probably going to go with a lot of smaller nuclear attacks that will wipe out cities. So like DC, Baltimore, New York, Chicago, places in Colorado, Texas, Washington State, etc. These places will get hit with like strategic nukes. That's just how it's going to happen. And so you have to prepare for that. I mean, that's the plan. So I don't want to make this too long, but, I think that's being rolled out now. That whole scheme is being rolled out now, and the U.S. is on the chopping block, right? The U.S. is on the chopping block, and they just did like this whole meeting with Russia, with Trump and Russia. It's all part of that. Once he meets with Russia, that's going to fail. That's a nothing burger, and so that's just in preparation for the strikes on the United States. They may even be saying, okay, listen, hit here but not here. Right? It may be conventional strikes, where he'd be like, all right, we'll give you this city and that city and that city, but don't take that city. Let us keep that city. Right? That's what they may be talking about in the meeting with Trump. They may be negotiating like what's going to probably get hit. Like, oh, we're going to take out this, take out that, and they be like, oh, we going to hit this, and we're going to hit that. You know what I'm saying? It may even be something like that. But I think right after that meeting, they're going to start striking. The United States is going to get hit. I mean, that's just part of, like I said, your boy Benjamin Milikovsky over there, who obviously runs the United States government at this point. Marjorie Taylor Greene already talked about that, right? That they basically run U.S. policy now. They run the U.S. government. They run the U.S. political staff, right? Not the people. The people they don't answer to the U.S. citizen. And so, and a lot of the U.S. citizens feel like they are just like the Israeli citizens. They all line up behind the policy. They believe that this is good policy, particularly the white ones, right? Like these white people, they have no problem with apartheid state like Israel. They feel like that lines up with their morals and their plan. They think it's going to be a Euro-dominated outcome, so it works for them. So they're fine with that. We'll see. I guess we'll see if that mentality works out, right? Because that's what it is. It's a Eurocentric, fascist, Nazi, Eurocentric, Judeo-Christian death cult. In the words of, I'm quoting Alan Watts, and that's what's going on. So be prepared for it to play out just that way. The timeline, no, I don't like to set dates, but you can figure it out by just watching what they're doing. I mean, you can look at Gaza, look at the West Bank. I don't know how long you think it takes them to get through that, to ethnically cleanse those areas, to finish off Lebanon, Hezbollah, Iran. You can watch that on the news and set your own clock and figure out, okay, they're gonna be finished by this time. The U.S., same thing. You can set your clock and figure it out for yourself. You don't have to be you don't need Nostradamus or remote viewers or psychics or anything to figure it out. At this point, it's pretty clear what's happening. And so you can look at their movements and see. You can see what's going on in Ukraine. You can see that Donald Trump is not going to be able to, he's not going to be able to bring any closure to that. And so that it's just, matter of fact, I would say, but I did get this information from a dude who said he was a psychic. He said he talked about once Russia takes the whole eastern part of Ukraine along the Russian-Ukrainian border, he said that then World War III was going to kick off. If you look at what's happening now, Trump meeting with Putin, Russia has basically owns the whole eastern part of Ukraine now. They're just solidifying their gains. And so it makes sense what the guy said. When I looked at that, I said, wow, it makes sense. So once they solidify their gains on that eastern portion, and then if they decide to, at that point, any given day, it's over with. Any given day, it can escalate. So they may go, once they solidify those gains, they may strike Kiev, they may finish off Kiev at that point and run a decapitation strike on the Zionist-run government. I mean, Zelensky is a so-called Jew and a Zionist, obviously. And so that's a Zionist Gladio operation, right? Gladio Nazi World War II Zionist operation. So he may run decapitation strikes on Ukraine and Kiev, and I think I forget the other part of Ukraine, right? And just decapitate the government. At that point, NATO and the U.S. are going to come in. Once he solidifies, which is almost done, that's a done deal on the Eastern Front. That he solidifies that Eastern Front line where he can operate his troops can operate into Europe, east, north, south, and west through Ukraine, through that Eastern Front, and he can decapitate the Ukrainian government and then move in. Just like what did the Russians do in World War II? They went through Ukraine right into Germany and overthrew Hitler, right? It's the same game plan. They're going to go through Ukraine and they're going to go out into Europe and they're going to decapitate Germany and everybody else that get in their way. History just repeats itself, right? So if you watch that, then you can set your clock and say, oh, you can see the sign of the times, right? You ain't got to be a psychic. It's but I guess it helps if you got good psychic data, if you happen to be a Jedi with some good data, you know what I mean? So, yeah, so just that, but that's how it looks like it's going to hash out. So I won't make this too long, you know what I mean? I appreciate everybody that rock with me. Stay tuned. I'll see you on the next one.